Hello and welcome to the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. This is an emergency edition of the SEO show. My name is Josh Baczynski. Josh, who is supposed to be on vacation, Baczynski. And we're here to talk to you guys today because Google, of course, we should have known this would happen. I'm supposed to be on vacation for 2 weeks, and so you folks are probably like, what the heck's going on? But Google, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to make a major Google update in the last few days, anywhere from the 18th to the 29th or so, and 28th or so. And of course, they choose to do this when I'm going on vacation. So I officially declare Google bastards. This is my official declaration. And so if I suddenly stop talking, Ted's going to take over, and Ted's going to be doing some co-hosting for this show. So while we're at it, why don't everyone on the panel introduce themselves? We got Ted and Jordan here. At least you guys introduce yourselves. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, Jordan here. Been doing local SEO for 11 years now. So if you guys got questions about maps or local, hit me up.
And I'm Ted. You see me every week.
And yes, that is a puppy over his shoulder.
Yeah, that's Leo.
It's the new Cora mascot, everybody.
Yes, it's the new Cora mascot. Okay, so let's get right into it. So again, I'm driving up island right now. I hope my mic is good, and I hope the reception's good. If I suddenly drop out, it's because either the LTE connection up island isn't any good, or my wife suddenly crashed. One or the other. She's giving me a dirty look. No, my wife would never crash. That would never happen. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to share my screen. So Google has made another major update. They say it's as big as wrong one. It's as big. Dan Petrovic, who is a major, probably the biggest Australian SEO there is. This fella here. He's been at my conference. We've been friends for a long time. I met him in Poland about 7 years ago. He's a good guy, and he said it's the third most volatile day in 2018, and it was a stronger flux than Medic, as far as he can tell, and it seems to behave kind of the same as the Medic update. So this is what I'm seeing. So check if you want to know if you were hit by this or touched by this. Check your search console, and you should see a big spike like this anywhere. This is on the 24th. But Jordan, you were seeing it on the 18th. A few other people saw it on the 18th. So anytime between the 18th and maybe the 26th to 28th, this algorithm has come around and it is checked out sites. Here's another one that it hit on the 28th as well. Now you notice on both these sites here, and we're going to get into, I've got a Cora report here for you. I've got all different kinds of stuff here for you. But you notice here that the speed in milliseconds for these sites went up, and they're not too great. Especially on this one here, the milliseconds have been high for a while. And so I'm wondering if this is a factor of it, and I'm developing a working thesis of what's going on. But because we kind of have the Cora software, because we have all these sites we're running, we can quite quickly kind of tell what's going on with an update. But so anyway, so Barry Schwartz has talked about it, and unfortunately people have been hit by this. Like, I just want to show you this post here. This guy says, I just want to say thanks to Google for destroying my business and virtually my life. And he had 6 upvotes on that. So that must mean that a lot of people were hit by this. A lot of people were hit hard by this. Now, some people were released from the previous Medic update. You can see that down here as well. So I think this is related to the Medic update. And again, I don't call it the Medic update. I call it the Twitter update or the social update, or just the July 29th update. And you'll notice we're a month later. So I think at the end of every month, Google is running something big, and I think this is the new Panda, or I think it's Panda. I think this is kind of the same deal, quite frankly.
And we were talking in your Skype group earlier, and I was mentioning how just looking at the change and what's correlating as strong factors, I was commenting that it looks like they hit the undo button from a month or so ago.
Yeah, it really does seem like it's related to the previous update. I agree entirely. And the other ironic thing is the other thing we were talking about this morning, again, was keywords in H1s. And you said you had just seen a change, and lo and behold, so of course Ted there is the the author of the Quora software, which if you haven't heard of Quora yet, where have you been? Quora is a major correlation piece of software that checks over 500 factors on over 1,000 pages at once. And you can run it multiple times in multiple niches. And it's super handy, not only for as a research tool to see what your competitors are doing. It is the ultimate competitor analysis tool, but also as a just tell me what to do. Like if you're looking for a just tell me what to do and how to rank piece of software, because you don't have time to be a super SEO nerd like me and my guys and gals I have in my group here and on the show, then Quora is the piece of software you want to be running. It's very similar to just you click a button, it tells you what to do, you do it, you rank. It couldn't be easier than that. The other thing that Quora is very good for is that when we have a big update like this, Ted can run a before and after. And if you had the software yourself, you could run a before and after for your particular websites and your niches. And you would get a report, something like this, that would tell you what is up and what's down. And this was on the DUI Lawyer Los Angeles SERP before the update and after. And what you want to be looking here is the delta. You want to be looking at the delta here of the difference between what's gone up and down. And so anything that's like down 1 or up 9, I would ignore. But when you start going up 40, this is when, or down 40 or up 66, this is when you should start paying attention because that's a major shift. And like, just look at some of these ones here. Again, number of social pages is up, just like Medic. Number of do follow links is up, just like Medic. Number of links, just like Medic, is up. Images with alt text, again, that's a keyword factor. Now look at this. Keywords in H1 tags up 35. Leading keywords in H1, H2, H3 up 42. Another social factor up 41. Look at this one. Keywords and alt attributes up 152. That's, I mean, come on. I mean, like, so, I mean,
down below, the leading keywords in H1 tags up 123.
Yeah.
That's the one that caught my attention.
Leading keywords in H1 tags. Yeah. So, I mean, this is already up from what we were already at. This is the April 16th update, way back in April. And ever since then, they've just been dialing up the keywords. And we've been tracking this. Look, up 172 in April 2016. So if you have a terms of service page, keywords in all the right spots, HTTPS, and social really seems to be, ever since April, what they've been dialing up. And it looks to me like they've just cranked up the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence, RankBrain's like, well, the best way to tell if a page is about XYZ is the keywords in it. So some of the keywords are down, like some of it fluctuates, but you got to look at the overall trend. And the overall trend is keywords is way up on a number of different factors here. They might have dialed HTTPS down a little bit, but anything under 50, I kind of ignore on this report because it could just be correlation. For example, like we just tested number of internal links, even though this is up 83, and our test failed, although I could check that test result really quickly to see what happened after this update. But yeah, so I mean, again, this is not necessarily, this is not showing causation, but it is showing a very, very strong correlation, and very, very strong correlation is just as good as causation in many cases. And so you'd be a fool to ignore all this data that's been changing. The social is up, keywords are up. The other thing that I noticed here, if you take a look at these, is that these guys had really bad speed, and then they were nailed, whereas a lot of people, some people weren't nailed at all, right? And they had really good speed. So another really quick little correlation I'm seeing here is speed being bad. You don't want it to take over a second for Googlebot to crawl your page. That definitely is not a good thing. So if I had to put my guess as to what this is about, if I had to make a guess as to what I think this is about, let me just make some, I'll make a note here. And is my audio okay? You guys can still hear me and everything?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
good. All good.
Okay. So if I had to make a guess, now this is a complete guess that we're just starting really early here. I'd say it's about keywords on page. I'd say it's about social proof I'd say it's about user satisfaction, and that includes speed. If I had to guess as to what this update is about at this initial stage, this is what I would guess it's about. And you got to kind of, and this makes perfect sense if from an AI perspective, as and we know they've been using machine learning. We know they've been using rank brain and AI to kind of see what's going on. So this is in terms of user clicks, of course, and social again. Oh, and all right, do follow links were up as well. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and speed is an interesting one because historically it's not a ranking factor, it's a filter.
Right.
And so that means fundamentally it behaves a little different. So, for example, if you had a slow website, it would affect the number of searches you appear in. So, if somebody was searching from their cell phone on a ferry boat, your slow website would be more likely to be filtered out of their search results because it would be a poor user experience. So it wouldn't change your average ranking, but it would affect the overall number of searches you appear in.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now, ever since the speed update in early July, speed does seem to be a direct ranking factor. So, I mean, this, if in terms of the correlations of what we're seeing, and again, it's very early, but I mean, this is just kind of part of the Medic update. I'm only calling it the Medic update because everybody else does. Really, this is kind of just another standard quality update, the standard kind of relevance update. That's what we should call it, is the relevance update. I don't know if I spelled relevance correctly. I think I did.
Relevance 2.0.
Yeah, and I think they're going to do this every month. They want to make sure you're relevant, and they want to make sure that and that means you have quality, you answer the query, you have speed. This is what they're using to do that. This is a quality signal. This is a quality signal. This is a quality signal. And this is relevant signal. This could be a relevant signal too. This is a relevant signal. And this is a relevant signal as well.
Part of that, I think, too, is brand name search, right? People typing in wanting that brand, wanting that site.
Yeah, absolutely. Brand. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. And John Mueller did used to, like a few years ago, he would really stress that you really need people searching for your brand name. And he would stress it so strongly and so strenuously. It was almost like he was just basically leaking it to everybody. He's saying, guys, you really need to make sure you have a small URL, a small domain name, and everybody have to be searching your brand name. And that was a few years ago. And then people started manipulating brand searches, like John Limbacher, and with his and then crowd search was really trying to manipulate brand searches. The problem is for testing for me, because I'm a testing guy, the problem is for me is that it's very difficult. It's not impossible. It's very difficult to set up a test where you're testing just brand searches that also don't click on the result and then stay on a page, because then you're also testing CTR and traffic at the same time.
Well, in a way, your single variable tests are all beginning brand tests. They're all unique words that nobody else in the universe uses.
That's true.
So it's all beginner brand tests.
But I would also say that, especially you guys are doing GMB, I would rather get a brand search than a keyword search for GMB by far.
I could see why you'd say that. For everyone who's not sure, GMB means Google My Business. So that's the map pack rankings that he's talking about. Of course, that's Jordan's specialty. I see what you're saying there. Now, for GMB, would you want to have the brand name be the keywords, or be partial match with the keywords?
I mean, I've done both, but at the end of the day, you want to be as unique as possible. So Joe's Plumbing should be your brand. It shouldn't be Joe's Plumbing Dallas. So you really need to filter out what exactly your brand is, and don't use a geo modifier if you can. Yeah, it still does help you with some certain terms that help with ranking a little bit right now, but eventually that's going to go away.
Well, and the ranking factors for the map pack are probably different ranking factors than for the organic
Yep.
tab. And you have to choose what's more important.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, so I agree totally. So Ted, do you have anything you want to add into this particular update, or Jordan, is there anything you guys want to add into this particular update? Because if not, I'm going to move on to the questions here.
Yeah. You know, regarding speed, if you happen to go from fast to slow connections throughout the course of your day or week, like let's say you have a ferry commute or a train commute, and if you find that you're always happy when you check your rankings on the ferry and then you get sad when you check your rankings from the office, you may be seeing the effects of speed as a factor. So that's one way you could diagnose it.
Yeah, I do like the fact that social went up too.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the questions here. So Shane is asking, hey Josh, I've been using the natural language you showed in the last video. So that's that Google natural language processor they put out a few years ago. Very interesting and helpful to make us think before we write a snippet. Yeah, it's a great tool. And Ted, have you been doing any more testing with that natural language tool that we looked at?
I haven't got time, but I do want to go back and look at that, because there definitely is something interesting happening with, you know, that keyword best. Like, it's such a strong signal that it's going to be a factor all on its own in upcoming versions of Quora. And so the question I'm wondering is, you know, what other sentiment words are there that we can use to boost rankings? And we need to do more testing to prove that those words, specifically in page titles and possibly in other zones of the page, you know, does that affect you as a strong ranking factor?
Okay, I'm just asking in the chat if anybody else has been hit by this update. So if anybody else has been hit by this update, let me know how things are going. I'd like to take a look at your speed to see how well how that is. I'd like to take a look at your crawls to see if your crawls were affected. Another thing to look at is your user satisfaction. I'd like to see your user satisfaction. User satisfaction is good. When I'm talking about user satisfaction, what we found out before is Pogo-sticking is very bad. Watch for that. Bounce back to SERP is very bad.
Can you define Pogo-sticking for people who don't know?
Yes, of course. So Pogo-sticking is when they go to like this. So here's the SERP, here's your page, here's another page. So, and then here's the line between you and the SERP. This is the SERP. This is your index, say for example, and then this is your whatever product or services page, like that. Try to type on my laptop here. And so what happens is they click on a result in the SERP, they go to your page, and then they see something else, they go to this page, and then they don't like this and they bounce right back to here. This is Pogo-sticking. And especially if they do that a bunch of times, they go to another page and they go back, and they go to another page, they go back, and they're always going back to the index page. This is a bad sign. Rand Fishkin's been talking about it forever, and I wanted to test. And in the 2012 Panda patent, where they talk about giving websites and web pages a quality score for organic SERPs, I'm not talking about the AdWords quality score. I'm talking about for organic SERPs. They talked about every time you do a hop, it's like a -10 to your quality score. Your quality score is like out of 100, just like PageRank is, right? So every time you do a hop, it'd be -10, -20, -30, and that would give you a score for this page or these pages here, probably because you hopped off of them. Or this would give you a score for the entire site. For the entire site. And we tested this in a closed environment with user clicks, and we found that indeed the pages that we pogo sticked from did get a huge drop, but not anywhere near as bad as the bounce back to SERP. This was by far the worst drop, comparatively speaking, out of the 8 pages we had on the SERP. And the fascinating thing is this all took 1 to 3 days to go up and then to go back down. And then the other fascinating thing that happened is that it all leveled back out. It went back to normal when all the traffic was done. So that's never going to happen probably in the real world, because in the real world, you're going to continue to have traffic going through. But yeah, this definitely.
See, that's an interesting finding, because there's a lot of natural cases where I would pogo stick. Like, let's say, for example, I discovered the Daily Dilbert website. I would probably bounce between all the pages for the archive. So I'd read the past month. I'd binge watch, so to speak, that content. And if I was shopping, I would often pogo stick from, say, a category page to a bunch of product pages.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Ted. We see this in e-commerce all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean it's not a factor, because, again, this is relative to everybody else. So if your quality score is, say, 7 out of 10 or 70 out of 100 because there's some pogo sticking going on, that's probably fine, because all the other e-commerce web pages in your niche probably have the same kind of quality score. But if you got a guy like Amazon, for example, here's the SERP, and they click once and they go to the money page, and then they're done, that's it. Or they keep going to the checkout. That's not pogo sticking. That's straight through. That's great. So this is the ideal thing: is 1, 2, 2 interactions or but no bounce backs is kind of what that patent said it was looking for. That's what they said the perfect search would be, the perfect kind of quality. One of the ways, only one of the ways they would tell that it was a perfect quality kind of thing that you were looking for. So this is optional here. But
I would think if they went and clicked on the back button, that's basically saying, I don't want to be on this page, take me back home. But if they're using the internal navigation, which if the site architecture is leading them to the previous page, might be different.
Yeah. So again, it's one factor. So like I said, we have keywords here, which I think are at least 33% of what's going on now. We have social and backlinks, which I think this is going to be very confusing, but I think this is another 33% at least. And then I think user satisfaction. I think speed is its own thing. I think it's going to be like 10% at least. I think user satisfaction, this is another kind of 10% factor. I think user satisfaction is going to be the other 33%. So like I said, I see plenty of SERPs that I can tell the user satisfaction is very low, but their keywords and their links are great. So this is on page, this is off, this is user. You can see that all the time. So you don't necessarily have to have the best conversion rate, but wouldn't it be nice if you did? Like, that's kind of what you want, right? You want the best conversion rate anyway. You want the best. You want this scenario if you can get it. You want them to go right to the SERP, click your result, go right to your money page, go, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want, and go through the checkout process and done. That's what you want. You don't want them pogo sticking around. It's using your resources. It's slowing down your server. They're not sure if they want to buy. It's not good for your brand. If this is the best you get, fine, as long as all your competitors are just as bad. But I would rather get this for sure if it is all possible. Okay, so let's go back to the questions here, see if there's any questions I can answer. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm not dropping out here. Ted, is there anything else you want to add in there? Anything you want to jump in and talk about?
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good overview of what we're seeing. So.
Okay, so like I said, I might break up, so I apologize if my audio breaks up here, guys. And if so, Ted's going to take over. And then it's going to be one big long sales pitch for Quora. No, just kidding. Although that wouldn't be a bad thing. It'd be great if everyone had Quora, because that's how we tell. That's how we've determined like at least 80% of this is from Quora. So that would not be a bad.
I've got some backup content I've been dying to release. So if things go south, I'll use that.
Okay, well, now I'm interested. Now I want things to go south, because now I want to know what you're talking about here. Let me just say, if you want to try, oh yeah, I forgot. If you want to try Quora, here's Bitly. Here's a Bitly link to get Quora. That's for 25% off. And the new Quora is coming out, so prices might be going up. So you guys should really think about getting it. Here's the other thing: if you like the content we're doing here, and this is helping you out, guys. And I'm also on vacation, remember. I'm supposed to be on vacation. If you want to buy us a beer, there's the URL to buy us a beer. I'm taking a page from Patreon, if you guys are familiar with Patreon. And so, or like Twitch. If you want to buy me a beer, bit.ly/beerjosh. You could buy me a beer. You could buy my wife a beer who's driving, although she won't drink it while she's driving, of course. That'd be terrible. But if you like what we're talking about and you want to help us out, I would appreciate it. bit.ly/beerjosh. Buy us a beer or a dinner or whatever. I would appreciate it, if you like the free content. Okay, so Jason Witt asks, just checked my index page on Webmaster Tools. My page's index jumped from 355 to 510 on 824. Yeah, so that's exactly what we're talking about. It's this, this thing is exactly what we're seeing here. This kind of spike on a certain date. That's exactly kind of what
Real quick, Jason, was there anything that you saw on the 18th by chance? Because I saw it on the 18th and the 25th.
Yeah, interestingly, Jordan, your site there was hit twice.
Yeah.
It was hammered once and fully crawled, and then a few days later, or about 6 days later, it was fully crawled again.
Yep.
Now that's weird. That doesn't make much sense to me. I haven't seen that, but yeah. So guys, check your Search Console, check your crawl report, see if you were hit. So and Jason, also check. We're going to say, Jason, check this, check that. Jason, check your rankings. Make sure your rankings haven't tanked, because some sites just kind of wavered. Some sites got better. A couple sites got worse under my purview. So it's I know what needs to be fixed. It's everything I wrote down here. But it definitely can suck. And like I showed you that I showed you Barry's blog there, where a lot of people were like totally hit by this. Yeah, Steve Buchanan says social. It sounds like an NFG update. Those NFG guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm missing 2 on my crew. So
yeah. Yes, Brad and Mike are not here, but we'll be joining them. In November, is that when the conference is?
October.
October, right? Yes. So on October 19th to 20th, we're going to be. I'm going to be there. Ted, I think you're going to be there.
Yep.
Jordan's going to be there. We're going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina, correct?
Yeah, it'll be the 20th and 21st.
Yeah, and we're doing a big conference at NFG. So if you're in the area, if you want to come down and see us in person, by all means. Email me, joshbrzezinski@gmail.com, and I'll get you tickets.
Yeah, and I like hanging out and drinking beers and talking shop. So if you're there, let's plan on doing that.
Yeah, and Quora 4 hopefully will be out by then. So also Ted will have some crazy stuff to share, I'm sure. Shane, you said you could give us one of your sites to use an example. Sure, if it was hit by this update, we'd love to check it out. So take a look if you were hit by this update, and if you were, we'll definitely check it out. Cameron says, don't you think the deep dive is a further look into site content profiles? Yeah, Cameron. I mean, obviously, there's a reason why they're crawling every page on the site. And that's why I'm calling it a relevance update every month, because the best thing for them to determine what relevance is keywords, right? It's keywords on the page. But remember, the adjective relevance for Google has always been synonymous with quality. Relevance and quality, they always use in the same sentence. So I think it also has, because if you don't have a high quality site, it's not very relevant either to the search query. And that's a direct quote from John Mueller. So I don't know what you mean by site content profiles exactly, but I think it's a further look into all the pages and they're checking out what you have on your page, how relevant you are to those keywords, and then also I think they're doing that and to put you up for A/B testing for quality, because I'm starting to see some of those sites of mine that were hit. I'm starting to see them come back because some of those pages were good and they converted, and some of them are not coming back. So I think every month I really do think, and Ted and I were talking about this before the show. Every month I think they're just going to press the reset button and let their artificial intelligence sort it out every month.
Well, it's interesting, this recrawling the whole web in a hurry behavior that we're seeing. It, to me, that seems like Google made a big mistake, because recrawling the whole web in a hurry, that's kind of the nuclear option. It's really expensive for them.
Yes.
Because if you think about what Google has, they have this gigantic cache, the Google cache. So they can skip all that internet bandwidth and go direct to their copy of the internet to recalculate and re-rank things based off that copy. So if they are recrawling everything instead of going to their cache, that pretty much means that they've corrupted their cache, or what they need isn't in the cache. They've discovered something new they need to measure, or they lost a measurement that they, in hindsight, think they need to have. So seeing Google rush out and recrawl the whole web, basically the most expensive operation Google search can do, I mean, that tells me that either they discovered something new or they made a big mistake.
Yeah, and that is such an important and intelligent thing you just said, Ted. I wish I had a beer Ted button right now, because I would buy you a beer. So go to Bitly Beer Josh and buy me a beer, and I'll buy Ted a beer when I see him in Greensboro, because that was such a good thing you just said. Yeah, you're totally right. That is the only logical reason for them to recrawl the entire web, which, as you pointed out, is super, super expensive for them. They just probably spent $1 million in that week recrawling the web, probably. I mean, I'm just pulling a number out of my ass, but it's going to cost them a lot of money to respider the entire web and all the pages that they want, like the 200 trillion pages, to decide, whether they want to re-rank them or not.
There's a good comment here. Someone said I had it in reverse. I ranked up August 18th and went back down on the 25th. So they saw 100%. That was like opposite the one I saw.
Yeah.
Right.
That supports the undo button theory.
Yeah, and I don't think this is going to be. So this is a piece of evidence against my theory that this will be a regular occurrence, because they don't want to spend that much money every month. I think they're still tweaking this relevance algorithm, this kind of 1-2 punch of what kind of keywords do you got, put you up higher, A/B test you, see what clicks happen, fall down or stay there. And I think they're going to do that piecemeal every month. I don't think they're going to do it completely new every month, because that would cost a lot of money and be a really weird thing to do. Maybe they will, but that also shows it's not just one update, Jordan. It's 2 updates at least.
Right.
They did it once. They didn't like what happened. They did it a week later. And we're so, it's hard for us to tell what's going on. So we only notice one update when in fact they did at least 2, maybe more updates during that whole time.
Right. I'm curious what happens next week.
Yeah. Well, yes, I'm still on vacation next week, so undoubtedly they're going to do something. It's all my fault, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, here we are. All right, we're passing somebody. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're safe. Ow! Don't hit me. Okay. AV Andy says. Okay, hold on. By Siege says, so what if someone just bounces back intentionally to our site via 5 to 10 IPs daily, aka manual labor, negative SEO? How can that affect rankings? Ever tested it? So yes, we have tested it, and we never tested the same 5 to 10 people every day. I don't think that's going to have an effect, because that'd be a very easy negative SEO thing to do. So I'd be highly surprised if Google was dumb enough to allow that to work as negative SEO. But effectively, we have tested it. We have run this exact test right here with around 50 to 60 people, and they clicked on, and I just told them randomly to click stuff in the SERP, and I just watched what they did and saw the result, and it was fascinating. That was our single variable test we did about a month ago. But it was all fresh IPs. And then we've gone back and things have gone up or down from going back as well. So they can't return visits. And that was the control I was watching, not my rankings either. But at the end of the day, when we stopped searching, it all went back to normal. So I'm not really sure what would happen exactly from that, but I strongly doubt that would affect you. And 5 to 10 visitors, when you have like 1,000 visitors to a page, is nothing. 5 to 10 is a blip. It's a mosquito. So you don't have to worry. I don't think you have to worry about that. AV Andy says, our ecom got hit hard. Our developer had messed up with our dev site. Hopefully bouncing back after it gets fixed. Yeah, you got to watch out for your dev site getting crawled and things happening there. So definitely be careful about what's going on there. Yes, Cora. Really, if you want to be, Shane says, I have a few clients. I am interested in Cora. Sounds like a must-have. Thanks for the link. Guys, we're not just here to sell you Cora. This is not just a sales pitch for Cora. The reason why I push it so hard, because it is this good. You know I'm very picky about the software that I advocate. And trust me, many more people have contacted me and said, hey, Josh, can you push this? Can you push that? And maybe it's even people I've had on the show previously. And I'm like, no, your software is no good. But Cora is great. I would push it whether or not I was friends with Ted. Anyway, so definitely it's something you want to be looking at doing here. And quite frankly, if you want to be, Pop is good too. It's cheaper. It's not as good as Cora because Cora does more. But and Cora 4 will kind of do a lot of things that Pop does as well. But quite frankly, I mean, yes, if you want to be a serious SEO in this industry, you really do have to have the right tools. And Cora is the best, one of the major tools in that regard. And I will shamelessly say that because it's quite frankly, it's true. That's just the way it is. Okay, what other questions we got here? Okay, so Jason is back, and he says that nothing from Google on or around 8 to 18. Analytics shows Google crawled everything hard on the 23rd, but no change in rankings that he can see. Okay, great. So Jason, if you want to share that site with me, either publicly or privately, I'd love to take a look at it to see what's different between your site and some sites I have that were hit. I'd like to take a look to see that. Or if you want to share it publicly on the show, that'd be great. I'm sure people would appreciate it. And if you want to share that privately, that'd be fantastic too. If you want to share it privately, just email me, joshpashinsky@gmail.com. Sexina says, keywords in the comment section count in keyword density. Yes, they do. Dave says he sees the 18th crawl spike, but they were hit before and they're back up to where they were before the previous update. Gabriel, yeah, I see that. This is the one you were talking about, Jordan. He ranked up on the 18th and got back down on the 25th. So it's like they decided to test you on the 18th to A/B test you, and apparently something they didn't like either put you down on the 25th, or they just reshuffled the keywords and it just put you down on the 25th. They still are tweaking. They're still in a testing phase. They're still tweaking stuff. Dave says, actually looking closer, that looks like what happened to us. Traffic got hit early August. Rankings were up and down even. Rankings dropped on the 18th, now back up this week. Okay, so Sean Greenwood says, I ran a Cora on a local term today for a new page, and it recommended no keywords in the page, but only in OG social titles. So this suggests social is big. Yes, so we saw that too. Ever since the July 29th update, what people are calling the Medic update, I would call it the Twitter or the social update, but I'm going to call it the relevance update. Sorry, that was really confusing. But the reason why is because, yes, we saw even on the July 29th update, social was up a huge amount, and social was just up again a huge amount. So it's like social is up 100 spots from the beginning of July. So that's just crazy. Okay, Ted, so you said you had some content you wanted to lay on us. If you guys have more questions, go ahead, ask them in the chat, and I'm going to let Ted take over for a bit here and talk about this content he wanted to share with us. Besides Ted, he wasn't ready.
You're muting it.
All right. So let's see. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, yeah, we see it.
All right. So I'm going to try and go through this at a quick pace. It's about an argument I had on a very popular Facebook SEO page a little while back. Some people may but what basically happened is a self-proclaimed statistics expert who basically spent the whole time, shitting on math and talking about why math isn't any good. Basically was saying that you can't correlate anything because the sample size is too low. He is saying that his keyword has 2.3 million results, and because of that, taking 100 samples can't tell you anything. And so what I basically wanted to respond back to that, to the whole world, is that no, you can use smaller samples than 2.3 million samples to learn something. And the primary example is in flipping a coin. Like, how can you tell if a coin flip is fair? If you start your test, usually by the 7th head in a row, you can be 99% certain that something is fishy with the coin. And so it doesn't take, 2.3 million coin flips to determine if a coin flip is fair. So at that point, we can start saying, well, how can we tell, if a coin flip is similar to an SEO factor? And how we tell is we measure. So we have rank position on Google here on the x-axis. And as we approach number 1, we look at the factor measurement for the factor. And if they appear in random order, then we say it's not a factor. So we have, heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, heads, tails. That's a random distribution. And there's mathematics for determining if things appear to be random. And when we take the measurements and they look like this, then we're like, okay, that's not in random order. It appears that Google is sorting the results by these. So we think these rigged coins are a search engine factor. And so what we do when we do our SEO experiments, our single variable testing, what we do when we take correlation is we are looking for these rigged coins in the search results. And when we take a field of possibility, Cora measures like over 500 on-page and off-page SEO factors, and there have been hundreds of single variable tests. What we're doing when we do this is we're taking that field of possibilities from hundreds of things you could be spending your time on. We're reducing it down to the 1 or 2 dozen likely things that have evidence to support it that you should be working on. And that's where we gain advantage, is while the rest of the SEO world is choosing from among hundreds of possibilities, we're choosing from dozens of likely suspects. Are you still with us, Josh?
Yes.
So what do you think of what I'm saying here?
I think it's beautiful, as per usual. I mean, just look at that. Those 2 graphs there should tell you everything. I mean, Cora can separate out the data to tell you if it's going to look like that or not. And if it looks like that, again, it's correlation. It doesn't mean for sure that's a ranking factor, but the bigger the numbers, like you did the coin flips there, the two coin flips heads, okay, 7 coin flips heads, what? 10 coin flips heads, okay, something is clearly rigged. And so Cora can tell you when Google has stacked the deck, to borrow a term from NFG, and how more likely it is they've stacked the deck. Random guesses based on in the field observations cannot tell you that, whether the deck is stacked, only whether your brain is stacked, right? Only whether you're inputting your bias into it, as opposed to Cora saying, This is not a bias. This is the math. Look at the math. And the math shows this line goes like this. When you approach number 1, the factor increases exponentially in a line that we can put in a graph so clear. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's correlated, but where there's a lot of smoke, there is some kind of fire. And or when you have a coin flip that shows 7 or 9 times the same thing, guys, that means it's rigged, right? And so I know what Facebook group you're talking about. And people who want to argue against that, quite frankly, are just pissed off that they're on the wrong side of the argument, right? Some people, this is how you tell if you're a philosopher or a scientist or not. If someone proves you wrong, there's 2 responses. The one response is, oh shit, I was wrong. Or, oh shit, maybe I'm wrong. I better go and check. The other response is, no, you're wrong. I don't like being wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Anything like math is wrong, or you didn't necessarily prove it, or something like that. So, I mean, in SEO, no one likes being proven wrong. Obviously, it feels bad, especially when it's something you liked and you put a lot of emotion into. And
I love being proved wrong.
Well, that's because you're a scientist.
Well, every time somebody proves me wrong, I get free, easy value.
Well, exactly. That's the way to look at it. I mean, every time anyone proves you wrong, I don't mean just says you're wrong, but proves you wrong and shows the data, they just gave you some very important information for free. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and this guy that I was arguing with on Facebook, I mean, I would have loved it if he had data to the contrary. I would have loved it if, he had any evidence to the contrary. He was basically saying, my data's crap, and he was saying that correlation isn't causation, simply to justify his lack of data and his resistance to use math in his own practice.
Yeah. And that's partly Google's fault, right? And then they've purposely used this rhetorical tactic that correlation is not causation to disprove every pet SEO theory we've ever had. And when they're just pet SEO theories, maybe that is the right tactic to take. But these are not your pet SEO theories. These are your mathematically supported SEO theories. And that's the difference. That it's not a pet SEO theory. It's a mathematically supported SEO theory, where the stronger the math is, the less you could say it's merely correlation, and the less you can ignore the potential for causation there. So, but like I said, it's like, of course, I recently went out there and said that silos are all BS and they don't work. And then the internet, then I broke the internet. They went crazy about they went crazy about that. Mostly because they're either using it or they're selling it. And that's the other thing you have to consider, is that people are selling silo solutions. And I'm not saying there's not times when you can't use it and that it might not be beneficial, but those are very edge case times.
Well, whether you're right or wrong on your conclusions, what I really love about those experiments is it kicked off 2 or 3 other groups to do competing studies. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yes, it is awesome. Yeah. Here's the phase we are right now in SEO history. Right now in SEO history, it's 1 or 2 groups doing solid testing and no one else doing solid testing. So that's what happened in the 1800s for medicine. Now what's going to happen in the 1850s to 1950s is we're going to have them, it's like the oil company or the tobacco company coming out with their own scientific studies proving that actually cigarettes and oil is good for you, right? And that's the next phase historically we're going to move into, where all the groups that sell silos and all the groups that sell this or that, Keith, stop smoking that cigarette. They're going to come back and say, actually, we did our own study and we've proven that silos help you rank. And so that's the problem we're going to come into next. And so just watch out for it.
I just want to apologize to Ted Kabitis because I might have tagged him in that discussion. So I'm sorry, Ted.
Oh, that's a fight I wanted to beat. It's an ugly, horrible experience. But if somebody doesn't like talk back to these people that dump on math and science, I mean, who will? I mean, we have to set a boundary saying no, ignorance is not an okay practice or policy.
Not when people's businesses are on the line, and not when hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for some businesses are on the line as well. I mean, if your SEO is negligent and it tanks, you could literally get people fired. You could get the business going under.
If you're going to claim to be a statistics expert, don't proceed to spend the next 45 minutes like berating math and statistics and saying why it's worthless and good for nothing. That's not good representation of the thing you claim to be an expert of, and that's what this guy was doing.
Aren't algos written by math?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, they are.
Okay,
so guys, I'm going to be on here just for another few minutes here. If you guys have any questions left in the top right-hand side in the YouTube, you should find the chat, and you can ask your questions in the chat. We're still talking about this relevance update that Google has put out. It seems to be related to the Medic update. Up on the screen there is kind of our thinking as to what it's all about right now. If you like this free content, Bitly beer Josh, and I'll have to buy Ted a beer because he said something really cool. I'll have to buy Jordan a beer too when I see him in Greensboro. So I need money to buy these guys beers. So beer me. so Bitly beer Josh, if you like the free content. Otherwise, this is what we're looking at. If you guys were hit by the update, check your Google Search Console. Check to see if you were had a major crawl between the 18th and the 26th. Some people were hit twice. Some people were released and then hit. Some people were hit then released. So it really has to do, I think, with your keywords on your page, and then Google A/B tests you. And I said back in the Medic update, and I think these are related, and I think that's what it looked like it was happening, is that Google was pushing the reset button and was like, okay, I'm going to put you back up there based on your keywords, and I'm going to check to see the relevance. But I think this is just testing that Google is doing, and I think this is going to run smoothly on a regular basis. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think this is just the final stage. This is the end stage Google ranking, which is just all powered by the machine learning and all powered by their artificial intelligence. Because this is such a reversal on what politically Google has been doing that I think that this is, I don't think there's any, I think they're definitely letting the AI make the decisions now and just pressing the OK button.
And Josh, you're saying to look into like the crawl stats to see if you saw a spike on those dates. Is that right?
Yeah, I could show that again. So here, let me share my screen again. If I still have this up here. Do you guys see this?
Right.
Here?
Yeah, okay, I see.
She's the last person in the world that will admit that.
So 1 second there. I was going to have to mute you there for a second. There's some background noise. Okay, so yeah, so this is what it looks like here. You'll see a spike like this, or I also had this spike here. This spike here. Anywhere between, and some people saw 2 spikes. And then definitely check your time, your speed. This guy here did not do well. This is one of the sites that were hit. And he definitely had a really slow, his speed got really slow around this point here. And I don't think this helped him out. And I've seen this in both sites. This guy wasn't hit, but he definitely got a bite. And so this is not necessarily a good sign here either. So I would definitely, this person should be fixing their speed anyway. These 2 guys need to be fixing their speed anyway. It wasn't this bad when I was working on their site before. I got to go back to these guys and say, okay, guys, we got to improve this speed here on the site, whether or not it has anything to do with this algorithm, which I think it does. But yeah, so we definitely need to check that out. Let me see if there's any more questions here. Ted, did you have anything else? Jordan, Ted, do you guys have anything else you want to mention on this update?
Yeah, there was a give me a break comment in the YouTube comments for 100 samples. And I just want to point out that many medical clinical trials have less than 100 samples. Boxers in sports betting, that's less than 100 samples a year. Your baseball player at bats, that's often less than 100 samples. And yet Vegas cleans up on the sports bookies. So, the charts for significance, for critical values, for correlation go all the way down to 5 samples. There is a critical value where you can determine significance at low sample rates. And if you have trouble with that, then, go to your community college, go to your tutorial online service of your choice, take a statistics 101 class. Honestly, go learn something and apply it to your trade.
Yeah, and your previous example was perfect, Ted. Don't even do that. Just flip a coin 10 times and see what happens, right?
Yeah. Get a rig coin, get a double-headed coin, and start flipping it, and tell us when you start to suspect something is up.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I haven't really checked my crawl stats here probably in about a month, so I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen each and every single month now.
Yeah, I mean, it's awfully circumspect that we're exactly a month later, and they're doing this again, and it seems to be related. And it would only make sense to me that they would continue to operate on this fashion every month. Again, that's a hypothesis that we need to see every month afterwards to see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, it would make perfect sense for them to keep doing this every month because they want to make sure their search results are the highest quality for their users. So you got to make sure you're the highest quality for the users. And I wouldn't be surprised if they ran this refresh, this relevance update every month to make sure that their search results are as relevant for every user as possible. Brian asked a question. He said, I had a recent review done. Naturally, Search Console pointed it out to me. Can I still leverage it by pointing people from my social to it without negative view from Google? A recent review, I guess a rating he means, done naturally, Search Console pointed out to me. Can I still leverage it by pointing people from my social to it without negative view from Google? I think you're talking about a review or some kind of a rating, and you're probably talking about Google My Business, I think. So yeah, you can definitely leverage any reviews or rating stars you get. Now, Jordan, I'd love to hear your opinion about this because my thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear if you agree or disagree, is that let's say you had 40 reviews on your Google My Business, you could put those stars, you could use the review schema and put those stars on your index page, and then link back somewhere there saying that these reviews are from Google My Business.
Yeah, there's even a couple of plugins too. You can get on WordPress even that will actually point back to your actual GMB profile where the user can go there and read the reviews. So
yeah, perfect. And but the only thing, and this is straight from John Mueller. So again, I'm not sure, Jordan. Let me know if you agree. Is that the thing he said though? Is that a few people got penalties on there, and they said, "Well, I linked back to my Google My Business reviews," and John Mueller said, "Yeah, but those reviews were on the business itself, not necessarily on this particular product or this particular service. It's got to be a one-to-one correlation where what's the thing being reviewed is the thing that you put the review schema on."
Yeah, personally, I separate my GMB reviews and leave it on the GMB, and then I have product reviews or service review schema on my site. So I do keep those separate.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I'm glad you agree with that. I'm glad that you think that because I think that, and you know more about local than I do for sure.
Yeah.
Baxter says thoughts on buying English backlinks for a Swedish website. Yeah, you can do it. There's a whole list of factors that are more important to me than the language that you need to look at. That's a whole nother can of worms that I can't open right now. But if you want to join my mentor group, my monthly mentor group, we run courses every month, and I've covered that for linking. It's kind of a big topic to just kind of ramble off. So. Okay, guys, so I think that's going to be good. I think that's enough information on this update. Everybody check your Search Console, see if you were hit. I hope you weren't. Check to see, one, if it looked at you. And then that's kind of like the shark swimming around you. And then 2, check to see if you got bit and got dragged down by said shark. And then we'll check to look at this list here that I put up here for what you might need to do to get rid of it. Again, I'll just go over this very briefly. So this is our best guess as to what's going on now. Keywords definitely seem to be a factor. Social, user satisfaction. Watch for these 2 things on your site. Speed, make sure you have the best possible speed. You cannot go wrong improving speed. Even if you have to spend $1,000 fixing this, do it. Unless $1,000 will literally break your bank and put you on the streets, because you cannot go wrong with speed. It is a direct ranking factor these days. Backlinks seem to be a problem. So if you don't know how to do that, you need to join my mentor group. And these things seem to be important too. HTTPS, have a terms of service, contact page, a robust contact page, email. Those kinds of things definitely seem to be a factor as well ever since the April 16th update. If you want to check out Quora for yourself and see where we're getting a lot of this information, there's the link for Quora. If you want to join my mentorship group, email me at joshpashinsky@gmail.com. And that's where all the other information is coming from here is for my single variable experiments that I do. If you want to try my mentorship group out, go ahead, email me at joshpashinsky@gmail.com. If you were hit by this update, email me at joshpashinsky@gmail.com and we can do an audit and see what's going on with your site. And so we definitely can fix it. Don't despair. But I think it's probably going to be a monthly kind of recurrence, and we're going to have to watch this. So hopefully we weren't hit by it. So check your Search Console, and if you were hit by it or need any help, have any questions, let me know, and we can help you out. So anyway, I hope you guys have been able to hear me most of the time. This has been the emergency White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. I would like to thank Ted and his puppy. There's Ted and his puppy.
We need a new Bitly link for Quora mascot.
Yeah, we need to buy beer for Quora mascot link. I'd like to thank Keith for joining in. I'd like to thank Jordan for jumping in. I'd like to thank everybody else here. These are a bunch of my other mentor students for jumping on as well. And if you have any questions, email me at joshpashinsky@gmail.com. And like I said, I'm on vacation for this week and next week. I wasn't planning on having a show next week. I'm supposed to be on vacation. But if Google continues with this craziness, we'll have to see what happens. So until then, unless I do another emergency show, there's not another show next week. And the week after that, I'm moving the show to Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific. But I'll keep you updated. Follow me on YouTube if you want to be updated. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and then you'll have all the updates there. And/or follow me on Twitter, and you'll have all the updates there as well. So thanks a lot, guys. And as I always say, good luck in the SERPs. And thanks, Ted and Jordan and Keith for jumping on.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.